about 10 minutes for questions.
And I'll let you start.
All right, thank you. All right, well, first off, nice to meet you, John Smith from Anime Herald.
Oh, hello, nice to meet you.
And my question is, what made you decide I'd like to get into voice acting as a career?
As a career specifically, that's a good question. I thought of voice acting as a hobby for a very long time, just because I was a software engineer. For a long time, I'd say like 7, 8 years I was a software engineer, and I did voiceover for about 6.5 of those years on the side. I was doing musical theater in Dallas, again, as like a hobby. It was professional musical theater, but also regional musical theater doesn't pay very well, so it was like a creative outlet for me. And a director needed a singer on a project at Funimation, and that's how I got started, essentially. And it just kind of went from there. I kept doing more and more work, and eventually there became so much opportunity that I had a choice to make between continuing with software or taking the dive into being a full-time actor, which was only about 1.5 years ago, honestly. And so I decided to give it a try, and it's been working ever since, luckily.
Thank you.
Doug Engler with Anime-Zing Radio. We've met before.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, you signed my Show by Rock art book at Kineticon.
Oh, awesome.
And it was really neat that you were able to read some of the stuff and tell me about what's in the book, because I can't read or speak Japanese.
I remember
so
that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure thing.
And one of the roles that you did early on in your career was Kita from Gamers.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people have heard good and bad about that show. What was it like to play that character? And I also have to say, you did such an amazing job to make that character either likable or dislikable, depending on who you talk to.
Gamers is such an important show to me, because that was my very first lead role, where I was sort of like the MC, right? And it was fun because Keita is a bit of a know-it-all, right? But I loved the writing on that game. I believe that script was written by Patrick Seitz, who is a phenomenal, like legendary adapter in the anime world. And so it was very fulfilling to get to work on a Patrick script for my first lead role. And it's very special to me. So I love that show very much. I'm sorry if I didn't answer. If I missed the mark, what did you want to know about?
It was more of like what was it like to be a part of that? Like a lot of people joke saying that if they had just talked, that show wouldn't exist.
I agree with you. The whole issue in Gamers was communication, right? I think the point is to watch it and get frustrated because you're like, just talk to each other, just communicate, and they don't. They go every way around it, right? But it was wonderful to work on that show, truly.
As someone who's been acting in the industry for close to 10 years at this point, what would you say has been the biggest evolution or change to the dubbing process since you started?
The biggest change in dubbing has probably been remote dubbing, because it's very difficult and we had to figure out how to do it. When the pandemic started, everything shut down, right? And studios were scrambling, we were scrambling, trying to figure out how to make it work. We were lucky enough to have a recording booth in our house, because I do music production as a hobby, and we would record our auditions in that booth. And so we pivoted, and we were trying out different ways of doing things. For a while, I was running a Pro Tools session to record Black Clover from my home booth, and that was really difficult because I had to be the engineer and act and like run all this tech stuff. And luckily, I had the Funimation engineers in my headphones on a remote call, and the director like teaching me how to use Pro Tools. It was very chaotic. But I would say the biggest change was the advent of remote recording and sort of juggling that through everything.
Okay.
And you have been a part of some of the bigger animes that are out right now, including Demon Slayer. What was it like when you were cast to be a part of, like, Demon Slayer is huge now?
Oh, it didn't feel real. I remember getting that audition and the studio that sent out that audition almost always includes like a vocal reference for the Japanese voice actor. And I listened to it, phenomenal voice actor, Ryota Osaka. And I had never heard anyone do a voice like that in any language. And I sat there and studied it, and I'm like walking around the house doing this like weird, falsetto vocal fry thing. And I sent it in, and I remember being cast and feeling like, am I in Demon Slayer now? What is this? This is very, okay. Oh, and I was super nervous for my first session because they're very specific, right? Because Demon Slayer is a big show, there's a lot riding on the show, and every single character they cast in it, so they want very specific things. And it has been surreal to be part of Demon Slayer. I had no idea. It was incredible to be part of the series, and then I heard there was a movie coming, but I didn't know the specifics of the movie. And I was in another session maybe 5 or 6 months ago, and the director I was working with said, "Oh, are you excited to be in the movie?" I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I did my thing in Demon Slayer." And they were like, now you need to be in the movie. What's going on, And then before I know it, I was on a theater trip with my brother in New York City, and the Demon Slayer movie was out, and so I got to go see my performance in Demon Slayer at a theater in Times Square, which was very surreal and very weird. I'm just sitting there like surrounded by Demon Slayer fans, incognito almost, going, "This is really weird, that's my voice, this is strange." So it's surreal, it feels surreal.
And on that note, what would you say has been the role that you've had to reach the deepest to pull a performance out for?
Definitely Gyutaro and Demon Slayer, definitely. What the casting director of that show did not realize was that I have a younger sister who's 7 years younger than me. And I won't reveal any spoilers or anything for those who haven't seen it, but the character does have a younger sister, and that has a very important part to play in their trauma, essentially, and what they went through with their sister when they were younger and how they survived, essentially. And so it hit a very raw place for me, and sort of combined with the technical difficulty of that role, it was, I would definitely say, the most difficult of anything I've done.
And knowing that you have a passion for music, and my wife is a big fan of your TikToks and everything
Thank you.
that you do, like I mentioned before, I'm a huge fan of the Show by Rock franchise.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like to be a part of that show, which A, I don't think it gets enough love.
It's a good show.
B, you had a cute, little kid character in that.
Right, Selin.
And what was it like to be a part of that show, especially where it has such a powerful message relating to how powerful music can be to bring people together, as opposed to just a cute anime?
Yeah, I think I love being in Show by Rock. It's such a fun show. I think the more ridiculous something is, the more fun it is. And the band specifically that character is in, Selin, I believe the band is called Arc Area Fact.
Yeah.
And, I will never forget recording. I think one of the first sessions I did, the band is in a room and they're discussing the tour or whatever, and one of them is doing like sit-ups, and it has like a crop top and these abs, and just for no reason of course. And I remember laughing really hard at that. But it's funny because there's comedy in the situation, but that doesn't stop the message, right? Like the power of music. And that was very important to Caitlin Glass as well, the director. So it was good. I'm very happy with the work that we've done on that show.
And again, I thank you for the autograph on that book at Kinetic Con.
Of course, yeah.
For reading it, because I think at the time you said you'd never seen an art book for that show.
I hadn't. I remember you showing me that, and I remember reading the stuff about the band and whatnot. So yeah, of course.
And where would you like to see the evolution of voice acting go in the future? What would you like to see the maybe 10, 15 years ago for voice actors?
Ooh.
Like technology and things like that.
Technology, I think there's... that's a good question. I think there's some opportunities on the rise with tech. that could sort of bring some cool things to anime. It's a scary time we're living in as creatives with the rise of AI. And that being said, I think there is a way to responsibly deploy it where it doesn't hurt people's livelihoods, but instead adds to the fan experience. And I don't know how to do that, I'm an actor, but I do think, it would be kind of cool as a dub actor to record not only with a microphone, but with PCAP, which is performance capture. And so I think there's a technological opportunity to, maybe like change lip flaps on the fly when you record in English, because that's not being done at all. So no one would lose a job if that was sort of reconfigured in English. I feel like that's the sentiment that I'm trying to get at. So I think in maybe 10 to 15 years, I hope we see the responsible use of technology in a way that elevates the medium for the fans.
Thank you. Yeah, I heard you say you were self-introduced, so I'm a self-introduced too, and this is something that's been on my mind for a while.
Yeah, it's a weird time, right?
It is.
Now, making the jump from...
Just a second. It is 10:46, so if you have a quick question to sneak in, you
Yeah.
can. Otherwise, we need to do photos. So.
Okay. The quick question, having jumped from like part-time voice actor to full-time, did you expect to get the success that you've acquired in this year and a half?
No, not at all. When I went full-time, I was fully entering that phase of my life with the full understanding that I might not get work for an entire year and have to go back to software. I was prepared for that inevitability I felt at the time. And then things started happening, Demon Slayer came out, and then Fire Emblem came out, and lots of things happened, and so I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Thank
Thank you
you
for
very
having
much.
me.
Just a little bit